All right, welcome everybody. Today we have Joseph Hoang, a devout Catholic from Texas, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about Ash Wednesday. Um, it's coming up on February 14th, and we wanted to, as part of this MCA educational series, start to look at religious holidays and the significance that they have. So thank you, Joseph, for your time today. With that, I'll start with a couple of questions and then we'll get going. So, um, you know, forgive me as a novice here, but what is the significance of Ash Wednesday?
Ash Wednesday is the day that we're remembered to, it's a start of the Lenten season, which is the season that is to do penance, to fast, and just to refocus our Christian lives on the coming and resurrection of Jesus on Easter. And so on Ash Wednesday, it's celebrated by many denominations of Christianity, not just Catholicism, but Lutherans, Methodists, Anglicans, and other denominations.
Awesome, awesome. Is there a reason it's always on Wednesday? That was just a curious question I had, so I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, Ash Wednesday is more of it's a from a historical standpoint, it's 40 days before Easter, and to fast back in the olden days, Sunday was not considered a day of fasting because were used to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, and it's a day of feasting. So usually a 6 weeks before Easter. And if you take away each Sunday, you can add it. So you can add 6 days prior to the start of Easter. So we start on Wednesday, and that makes up for all the Sundays in between Ash Wednesday and Easter.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense actually. So now that
Yeah.
I think about it. Um, so, you know, you're gonna partake in Ash Wednesday in a couple of days. So take me through like what happens when you go to church to when you leave. Just talk me through a normal Ash Wednesday for you.
Yeah. So Ash Wednesday is actually for Catholicism not a day of obligation. It's a day where you go to church, there is a mass service like a normal Sunday mass. But during the service, ashes are given out and on our foreheads. And usually the prayer is saying, remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. It's to remind us that we are human beings, that we need to do penance, reconcile our lives to Jesus, and for the next 40 days that we need to do whatever we can and to get closer to God because he is coming and we're going to celebrate his resurrection on Easter.
It's awesome. Okay, so the ash part of it is kind of a remembrance thing so that you remember throughout the day and then leading up to it.
Yeah, so the ashes is just it's just a symbolic sign to say we're nothing without God, and we need to do what we can to reconcile our sins and the things that we've done to know not that does not follow the teachings of Jesus. So we need to change our, daily lives to reflect the life of Jesus, basically.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Um, so do you go as a family on that day, or if if you were with a group, or is there a particular time that you go, or just whenever you get a chance?
Yeah, it's just basically every church has a certain times where they do mass and hand out ashes. And so you can go as a family if you're busy during the day. You can go in the evening or early masses before work. But usually a lot of churches have evening masses where you can go as a family after school, after work, um, just like any other Sunday.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, and then you know in this day and age, like 2024, does what does Ash Wednesday or just the period that follows as well remind you of religion, refocus you? What does it do for you kind of just as a person?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, we're so busy in our daily lives and with our work, families, hobbies, that you kind of lose track of your spiritual life. And these next 40 days during the Lenten season, you have this time period where, you're focused on, fasting, doing penance, thinking about how Jesus lived his life, um, and his teachings, and that, you become stronger in your faith and that you're ready to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus on Easter. And that is such a big day because, he died for our sins. And the last thing you want to do is keep doing the same things that lead you to sin. And so this is a time of reflection, a time of just making yourself a better Christian.
Awesome. Yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels there uh, across all religions, but specifically for Catholicism, it sounds like this is a significant day to, for you at least, to remember and, in our busy lives, and I'm guilty of it too, just forgetting about taking a moment and reminding, like, who are we without God and, you know, with the strength that he gives us. So,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, and it's also not only applies to, God, but it's to also improve, broken relationships that you may have had to family members,
mm,
friends, and to just reflect like who have I hurt, how can I improve as just a human being, so hopefully it helps you not just in a spiritual way, but your relationships with others too.
Yeah, totally. I can see how it works both ways like that, and then in multi different ways throughout, your life. You just, and we're not just, religious human beings. We're professional, personal, and so, like you're saying, it bleeds through in all those different things. So I think it definitely is important to do this kind of like remembrance and focus. And, I'm glad that you have a specific day that you can look forward to every year. Other religions sometimes follow a different calendar, or like the lunar calendar or anything like that. But, having Ash Wednesday and pretty much when it's going to be is like, honestly, that's a little refreshing that that it's coming up to remind you at the same time every year. So that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and
All right.
it's yeah.
Yeah, no, I have a couple of questions on just kind of like a potpourri about. So, how many different places have you lived in on Ash Wednesday? How many different churches have you been to in your life on that
Oh
day?
man, growing up mainly in the Dallas area, so I'd say that's just one, and then moving to college, two, then graduate school, three, or probably around 6 to 8 different churches. Um, yeah, during the over the years where I've celebrated Ash Wednesday, um, and pretty much there are certain differences, as in there might be a service where there's not an actual mass where they give ashes because they understand that people are busy. Like if it's a noon service, people might go during lunch, so they can't perform
Hmm,
a long mass, so they may hand out just ashes and do prayers. But usually, typically, it's going to be a normal mass with the ash distribution.
that makes sense. Any similarities across all the times that you've been there? Something that you always remember, or something that you always try to think about, or any
Yeah,
differences?
yeah, I think the similarities is that it's very solemn mass because it's the beginning of the Lenten season, and so it's a lot of prayer, a lot of um, just reminder of this is the start of the preparation for the whole season, and so I think it's very calming, throughout the whole, if whether I'm in Tennessee or Texas, I think it's a very calming experience.
Nice. And so a little bit of a preview for what's coming up. You talk about the season that follows Ash Wednesday. So, take me through that. What is the next couple of weeks or months like or days? Just explain to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
Yeah, it's basically so you get ashes on Ash Wednesday, and that's this signifies that we are in the Lenten season, the season for penance and reconciliation. And so over the next 6 weeks approximately, that's when, like I said before, you're gonna try to just improve your spiritual life, get closer to Jesus. Um, you might to do that, you might be a part of more church organizations, give up your time to volunteer. You may, while, like I said, being part of the church, you might do small group Bible studies that you've never done before, introduce new things in your life or take away things in your life that
Mm,
have been hurting you. And so, you make promises to yourself not to do XYZ anymore, or you make promises to yourself to do more things to get closer to God, like volunteering, giving your time up to do something like that. And so that's, over the next 6 weeks, hopefully someone, um, you're trying to improve, your spiritual life and just, yourself as a human being.
gotcha. When you decide what to give up, is there any limitations on what you can give up? I've heard people previously say something like, I'm giving up, this item or like this food item or something like that for this period. Is there like a like guidelines or anything like that, or is it just something that you need to think about and do it and stick to it?
Yeah, it's more about introspective, like what can you do the most to help your spiritual life and help you become, a better person. So, you can be superficial and you can say, I'm going to give up candy or sweets or,
Hmm.
soda, and that's totally fine. But then you also want to go deeper too, not just on the superficial level to see, okay, what are things that you can actually improve and not just improve for the next 6 weeks, something that you can take away from after the Lenten season and carry on through the next, months and years, and that
Mm,
that can, be permanent, not just temporary.
awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you've definitely invested in this period and take it as a time to reflect. And so obviously, knowing you personally, you're a devout Catholic and a really good person, but I think, following religion and certain aspects of it is really important. And that's what this whole thing is about. So appreciate you sharing all of that. Everybody who comes on, we just want to give you the platform to say, what it's like being a Catholic in 2024 if you want to, or just talk a little bit about, something that you want to just give us a little brief snippet about what it's like for Catholicism, just so we remind people to be inclusive and remember and respect each religion. So, over the coming weeks, what do you want people to know or just know about Ash Wednesday in this period?
Yeah, I just want to say, in the Lenten season for Catholics and other denominations of Christianity, it's a time to reflect and it's time to be just better human beings and just to help each other out. Just remember that we're all human beings. We're all in this together. It doesn't matter if, we're one race or another race or a different religion. We're going to be kind to others. We're going to respect others. Um, and we're gonna lend a helping hand, and that's the point of Christianity and Catholicism. We're supposed to love one another and respect each other, even when it gets tough, and that's part of life. We're not. It's hard to be compatible with everybody, and so that's part of the season. The Lenten season is to reflect and to try to understand where other people are coming from. You may not agree with everybody, and that's totally fine, but you have to try not to wish ill things upon others, even though it can be very tempting and hard. But for this coming up season, it's also an election season, so it's hard too. For
Yeah.
there's a lot of animosity that's going to come up, but for the next 6 weeks, you can prepare yourself and open your mind and open your heart to other opinions, other people, so that there's not going to be a lot of tension at the dinner table.
Yeah, it's well, this whole series is going to go through 2024, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like next year when we do this video. But
Exactly.
thank you so much for that, the helping hand part. I think that's, it's low-hanging fruit and it's easily said, but it can also be easily done. It's not one of those things that's very hard, but you just have to do it, and
Yeah, it's
so
the effort. Mhm.
it's the effort. All right. Well, I will just say, on behalf of the MCA, thank you, Joseph, for sharing your time with us. And you know, I think this was a great conversation. I learned a lot about Ash Wednesday and then the period that follows, but I also learned a little bit more about you, which I didn't know I could. So thank you so much. I really,
Well,
really
thanks, so
appreciate
man.
it.
Thanks for giving this opportunity.
Absolutely, man. All right.